The morning sun shone brightly over the bustling metropolis of New Haven, where the rhythm of life pulsated with the energy of millions. Commuters packed the subways, children laughed in playgrounds, and the air buzzed with anticipation of the weekend. Suddenly, an eerie silence fell over the city as every electronic device flickered and went dark. Streetlights blinked out, cars stalled, and cell phones died in unison. Panic rippled through the crowd as confusion turned to fear. Dr. Maya Chen, an astrophysicist with a keen intellect and a fierce determination, was giving a lecture at the city's university when the lights flickered. She paused mid-sentence, her gaze darting to the window, where a shadow blotted out the sun. Her heart raced as she witnessed the colossal alien mothership descending from the clouds, casting an ominous pall over the skyline. She knew at that moment that everything was about to change. The first explosions rocked the ground, sending shockwaves through the air. The sound of shattering glass echoed as alien fighters broke off from the mothership, darting down to unleash chaos. People screamed and scattered, seeking shelter from the onslaught. Maya's scientific mind raced with possibilities, her instincts urging her to find a way to fight back. In a secure underground facility known as the Nexus, military personnel and scientists scrambled to respond. Commander Ethan Harris, a grizzled veteran with years of experience, gathered his team. "We need to assess the situation," he barked, pacing the room. "Maya, what do you know about their technology?" Maya stepped forward, her mind racing. "We need to understand their propulsion and weapon systems. If we can get our hands on their tech, we might find a weakness." She glanced at the screens displaying live feeds of the destruction unfolding outside. "But we need to act fast. They're not here to negotiate." As they strategized, a holographic image flickered to life, displaying the alien mothership. Its design was unlike anything they had ever seen, sleek and menacing, adorned with pulsating lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the speakers, deep and resonant, sending chills down their spines. "We are the Zargoth. Surrender your planet, or face annihilation. Your world will be ours." The transmission cut off, leaving a heavy silence in the room. The team exchanged glances, fear and determination etched on their faces. Commander Harris slammed his fist on the table. "We won't give in to these invaders. We have to fight back. Gather our best scientists and military personnel. We'll form a resistance." As the team sprang into action, Maya felt a surge of adrenaline. She knew that humanity was at a crossroads. The fate of their world hung in the balance, and they had no choice but to confront this alien menace head-on. Her thoughts raced with calculations and theories, her scientific mind piecing together a plan even as the world outside descended into chaos. With the team assembled, they prepared for their first mission, to gather intelligence on the alien forces. As Maya geared up, she felt a sense of purpose. They would face insurmountable odds, but she was determined to fight for her world. Outside, flames licked the sky, and the distant sounds of destruction echoed in her ears. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the battle ahead. The Zargoth had made their declaration, but humanity would not be subdued without a fight. Together, they would reclaim their planet, one courageous step at a time. And thus, the fight for Earth began. The chaos of the alien attack continued to unfold above, as news outlets reported live footage of the destruction. Buildings crumbled, fires blazed, and civilians were caught in a nightmare. The Nexus became a hive of activity as Dr. Maya Chen and Commander Ethan Harris convened the best minds and fighters humanity had to offer. Their goal: to create a formidable resistance against the alien invaders. As the team gathered, Maya stood at the front, a holographic display illuminating her determined face. "We need to understand what we're up against," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil outside. "We'll split into two groups. One will focus on gathering intelligence on the mothership, and the other will work on modifying our existing technology to counter their weapons. We need to find a weakness." Among the team was Captain James Ramirez, a skilled pilot known for his audacity and quick thinking. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, as Maya laid out the plan. "I'll lead the intel team," he declared, his voice carrying authority. "We'll gather data on their fighter ships and their operational patterns. We can't let them dictate the pace of this fight." Maya nodded, impressed by his confidence. "That's a good start, Captain. But we need to be careful. The Zargoth are clearly advanced and ruthless. We can't afford to be reckless." As the team split into their respective roles, a sense of urgency electrified the air. The intel team, led by Ramirez, quickly assembled a crew of tech experts and strategists. They devised a plan to deploy drones equipped with surveillance technology to scout the alien mothership, aiming to gather vital information without drawing attention. Meanwhile, Maya spearheaded the technology modification group, working alongside Dr. Ivan Karpov, a weapons specialist. "We need to reverse engineer their weapon systems," she instructed, her mind whirling with possibilities. "If we can understand how they generate their energy blasts, we might be able to create a defense mechanism or even a weapon of our own." As they delved deeper into their work, tensions began to rise. The weight of their task loomed heavily over the group, and differing opinions surfaced. Some argued for a defensive approach, while others pushed for aggressive tactics. Frustrated, Maya called for a meeting. "Listen, everyone," she began, her voice calm yet firm. "We all have different skills and perspectives, and that's what makes us strong. We need to channel our differences into a cohesive strategy. We're not just fighting for survival. We're fighting for each other, for our families." Her words resonated, and the group gradually found common ground. They worked tirelessly, day and night, fueled by determination and desperation. As the alien attacks continued, their urgency escalated, knowing that every moment counted. On the intel team, Captain Ramirez led a mission to gather data on an isolated alien outpost. He piloted a modified drone deep into enemy territory, his heart racing as he maneuvered through the alien vessels. The thrill of danger surged through him, but he kept his focus, capturing high-resolution images and readings. As they returned to the Nexus, the team eagerly analyzed the data. What they discovered sent chills down their spines. "Their ships are equipped with a unique energy shield," Maya explained, eyes gleaming with a mix of fear and excitement. "But if we can disrupt the shield's frequency, we might be able to penetrate their defenses." Commander Harris smiled grimly. "Then we need to act quickly. This is our chance to strike before they fully mobilize. We have to take the fight to them." With a new plan in place, the resistance began to feel a flicker of hope. They had identified a weakness, and for the first time since the invasion began, there was a sense of purpose that coursed through the team. They were no longer just reacting to the threat. They were preparing to take the fight to the Zargoth. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the underground facility, Maya looked around at her team. Ordinary people transformed into warriors. They were fueled by a shared desire to protect their world. The fight was far from over, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As dawn broke over the horizon, illuminating the remnants of a city torn asunder, Dr. Maya Chen stood at the heart of the Nexus, a sense of urgency propelling her forward. The previous night's findings had ignited a spark of hope within the resistance. They had discovered the alien ships possessed a vulnerability, and now it was time to exploit it. "Listen up, everyone," Maya called, gathering the team around a holographic display showing schematics of the Zargoth ships. "Our analysis indicates that their energy shields are frequency-dependent. If we can identify the specific frequency that disrupts their shields, we can create a device to penetrate them. This is our chance to turn the tide." Captain James Ramirez stepped forward, his eyes bright with determination. "How do we find that frequency? We don't have access to their technology to test against it." Maya nodded, acknowledging the challenge. "That's true, but we do have their transmissions. We can analyze the waves they emit and reverse engineer a way to manipulate them." "Let's set up a lab," Ramirez suggested. "We can use whatever equipment we have left to create a resonance generator. It might not be perfect, but it'll be a start. As the team dispersed, Maya and her group worked feverishly to assemble the necessary components. They scavenged through remnants of military tech and repurposed materials, combining creativity with sheer desperation. The tension in the air was palpable. Every second felt like an eternity. After hours of intense focus, they finally completed the first prototype of the resonance generator. With a flick of a switch, the device hummed to life, emitting a series of pulsing waves. Maya watched the readouts intently, her heart racing. "This is it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "If we can fine-tune this to match their shield frequency, we can penetrate their defenses." Just then, a technician burst into the lab, breathless and wide-eyed. "Dr. Chen, Captain Ramirez, there's a massive Zargoth patrol approaching the city. We need to evacuate immediately." "Not yet," Ramirez shouted, his gaze fixed on the generator. "We're so close. We can't let fear stop us now." Maya nodded, feeling a surge of resolve. "If we can just get one successful test before they arrive, we can plan our first strike." The team worked feverishly, adjusting knobs and tweaking settings as the generator pulsed with energy. Outside, the sky darkened with the ominous shapes of alien ships, and the ground trembled beneath their approach. 5 minutes, one of the technicians shouted, anxiety creeping into his voice. "Almost there," Maya urged, her fingers flying over the controls. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, the fate of humanity resting on their shoulders. With a final adjustment, the generator emitted a resonant wave that resonated through the lab. Maya held her breath as the readout stabilized, indicating they had matched the frequency. "We did it," she exclaimed, a wave of triumph washing over her. "Good. Now let's see if it works against the real deal," Ramirez said, determination etched into his features. With no time to waste, they grabbed the generator and prepared for a field test. Ramirez assembled a small team of elite operatives, including tech experts and military personnel, to accompany him and Maya. They moved swiftly through the underground corridors, emerging into the chaos outside. As the alien ships loomed overhead, the team set up the generator in a fortified position, a strategic vantage point overlooking the city. Maya's heart raced as they prepared to engage the Zargoth. "Remember, we only get one shot at this," Ramirez said, his voice steady. "If we fail, we might not get another chance." "Then let's make it count," Maya replied, determination igniting her spirit. With the alien ships descending, their ominous forms casting shadows over the remnants of the city, Maya felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, the moment they had prepared for. As the Zargoth began their descent, ready to unleash devastation, Maya activated the resonance generator. The device emitted a powerful pulse, sending ripples through the air. She watched as the energy waves collided with the alien shields, a brilliant display of light flashing before her eyes. The shields flickered, then sputtered. There was hope. But the battle was far from over. The Zargoth were relentless, and they would not let humanity strike back without a fight. The pulse of the resonance generator sent shockwaves through the air, illuminating the battlefield with a vivid glow. Dr. Maya Chen felt a surge of exhilaration as the alien shields flickered ominously. The moment hung heavy with anticipation. Captain James Ramirez gripped his weapon tightly, his heart pounding in sync with the generator's rhythm. "Now," he shouted, signaling the team to launch their assault. The operatives sprang into action, moving with practiced precision. A volley of fire erupted from their positions, directed at the faltering Zargoth ships. Maya's heart raced as she watched the first energy blasts pierce through the disrupted shields, striking true. The alien ships exploded in bursts of color, showering debris across the landscape. It was a moment of triumph, a glimpse of victory against the seemingly insurmountable odds. But the Zargoth were not so easily defeated. As their ships began to realize the threat, they retaliated with overwhelming force. Blasts of energy erupted from their vessels, striking the ground with terrifying intensity. The resistance team ducked behind cover, narrowly avoiding the onslaught. Maya's mind raced with calculations and strategies, trying to predict the enemy's next move. "Keep it steady," Ramirez yelled, firing at an approaching ship. "We've got to hold our ground." The generator hummed, its frequency fluctuating as it struggled to maintain its effectiveness against the oncoming wave of attacks. "I can't keep it stable for long," Maya shouted, sweat beading on her forehead. "We need to find a way to buy time." Just then, an alien fighter swooped low, its laser cannons blazing. Ramirez took aim, his instincts honed from years of combat. "Cover me," he yelled as he dashed from cover, weaving through enemy fire. He squeezed the trigger, and his shot found its mark, sending the fighter spiraling into a nearby building with a deafening crash. The remaining operatives rallied, inspired by his courage. "Let's push forward," one shouted, and they charged, leveraging the momentary chaos to advance. Maya scrambled to keep up, her eyes wide with determination. As they pressed onward, they reached an exposed section of the alien base. Alien soldiers emerged from the wreckage, their grotesque forms equipped with weapons that glowed menacingly. The resistance team regrouped, forming a line of defense. Maya's heart raced as she spotted a nearby transport ship, a prime target that could potentially turn the tide. "Over there," she pointed, urgency in her voice. "If we take that transport down, we can cut off their reinforcements." Ramirez nodded, calculating the best route. "We'll need a distraction. Maya, can you adjust the generator's frequency to create an EMP blast? It might disable their systems temporarily." With little time to spare, Maya scrambled back to the generator, fingers dancing over the controls. "I'll try," she called, sweat streaming down her face. She adjusted the settings, her mind racing as the enemy closed in. With a deep breath, she hit the button, and the generator emitted a blinding flash. An electromagnetic pulse rippled through the air, striking the transport ship and surrounding Zargoth forces. Alien soldiers staggered, their weapons sparking and failing. The team seized the opportunity, charging forward with renewed vigor. "Now's our chance," Ramirez shouted, leading the charge toward the transport ship. Gunfire echoed as they engaged the disoriented alien soldiers, the sound of combat filling the air. Maya felt a fierce rush of adrenaline as they fought, each step forward a testament to their resolve. They reached the transport ship, and Ramirez worked quickly to breach the entrance. "Cover me," he ordered as he pried the hatch open. Inside, they found supplies, weapons, and most importantly, a control panel that could redirect the ship's systems. "Let's make this count," Maya said, her voice steady. "If we can take control of this ship, we can turn their technology against them." With the team providing cover, she and Ramirez dashed inside. They were met with a chaotic scene, alien equipment sparking and blinking. Maya's mind raced as she quickly assessed the controls, seeking to exploit the Zargoth's own systems. "Let's take them by surprise," Ramirez grinned, his eyes gleaming with determination. As Maya began her work, she realized they were not just fighting for survival. They were reclaiming their agency, proving that humanity would not be enslaved without a fight. Together, they prepared for the next phase of their battle, ready to show the Zargoth the true spirit of Earth. The resistance team stood in the cockpit of the Zargoth transport ship, adrenaline still coursing through their veins, as Dr. Maya Chen deftly navigated the alien control panel. A feeling of euphoria washed over them. They had gained a significant advantage, but they knew the battle was far from over. "Are we live?" Captain James Ramirez asked, glancing back at the chaos outside, where the remaining Zargoth fighters were still regrouping. "We need to broadcast this to the world. They need to know we're fighting back." "Almost there," Maya replied, her fingers racing across the console. "I just need to access their communication systems." Moments later, she managed to tap into the Zargoth's transmission frequency. "We're in," she announced. "I'll project our signal worldwide." As she worked, the screens flickered to life, displaying the devastation caused by the Zargoth invasion, burning cities, shattered lives, and the indomitable spirit of the resistance. "This is it," she whispered, her heart pounding as she prepared to send their message. "People of Earth, listen." Ramirez's voice boomed through the transmission, resonating with passion and urgency. "We are humanity's last stand. We've just dealt a significant blow to our alien invaders. The Zargoth think they can enslave us, but we will not bow down." Maya watched the numbers rise as their message reached millions. The energy in the room was electric. Hope flickered to life across the globe. She could almost hear the collective gasp of shock and awe as people saw the evidence of humanity fighting back. "We're uniting as one," Ramirez continued, his voice steady and confident. "We are a resilient species, and together, we can drive these invaders from our home. This isn't just a battle for survival. It's a fight for our future. Join us." As the transmission ended, the team fell silent, taking in the weight of their message. They had ignited a spark across the world, uniting people in a way that had never happened before. "Commander Harris is organizing a global conference," one of the technicians interjected, excitement radiating from him. "He believes that with the right coordination, we can galvanize resources and support from every corner of the planet." Maya felt a surge of hope. If we can rally nations to our cause, we might just have a fighting chance. "Let's get back to the Nexus," Ramirez said, determination in his eyes. "We need to mobilize and strengthen our defenses while we have momentum." The team quickly prepared the transport ship for departure, and with a roar of engines, they ascended into the smoky sky. The view from above was a sobering reminder of the destruction below, but it also revealed pockets of resistance forming across the globe. As they flew back to the Nexus, Maya's mind raced with ideas. They had to capitalize on the momentum of their victory and the world's response. She knew they needed a comprehensive strategy to not only defend against the Zargoth, but to launch a coordinated global counteroffensive. Back at the Nexus, Commander Harris was waiting, a grim expression on his face. "I've been reviewing the situation. While your broadcast has inspired many, the Zargoth are ramping up their attacks. They will not sit idle. We need to form alliances," Maya suggested, her voice urgent. "If we can unify resistance movements across nations, we can pool resources and coordinate our efforts." Harris nodded. "Exactly. I've reached out to military leaders and scientists around the world. We need to establish a global command center here at the Nexus. We must combine our intelligence and military strategies." As the team set to work, messages poured in from every corner of the globe. Ordinary citizens became heroes, joining the fight, sharing resources, and providing intelligence on Zargoth movements. Maya felt a profound sense of unity and purpose as they assembled a network of fighters, engineers, and strategists committed to reclaiming their planet. In the days that followed, the Nexus transformed into a bustling hub of activity. The resistance worked tirelessly, devising new weapons, refining tactics, and preparing for the next phase of their battle. Maya felt the weight of leadership pressing on her shoulders, but she also felt the warmth of camaraderie among her team. As she stood in the control room, surveying the flurry of activity, Maya realized they were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their world, their families, and their future. With every passing day, the resistance grew stronger, fueled by a collective determination to stand against the Zargoth and reclaim their home. And now, they were ready for the challenge ahead. The atmosphere in the Nexus buzzed with anticipation as the global resistance prepared for their first coordinated counteroffensive against the Zargoth. Dr. Maya Chen stood at the helm, surrounded by leaders and strategists from various nations. Maps, holographic displays, and data feeds filled the command center, showcasing the most recent movements of the alien forces. "We've gathered intelligence from our global network," Commander Ethan Harris said, pointing to a map that highlighted Zargoth positions. "They've consolidated their forces around key urban centers, likely to establish a stronghold. Our mission is to disrupt their operations and cut off their supply lines." Maya nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. If we can hit them where it hurts, we can slow down their advances and buy time for further resistance efforts. We'll need to strike swiftly and decisively. "Here's the plan," Harris continued, addressing the room. "We'll split into 3 main units. Unit Alpha will engage in direct combat with Zargoth forces in the eastern sector. Unit Bravo will work on sabotage, targeting supply routes and munitions depots. Unit Charlie will serve as a support unit, providing cover and extracting civilians." As the leaders discussed strategies, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose. The world was uniting against the Zargoth, and they were ready to show the invaders the strength of humanity's resolve. Hours later, the teams were briefed, equipped, and ready for deployment. Maya joined Unit Alpha, led by Captain James Ramirez. "We need to show them we're not afraid," Ramirez said, his voice resolute as they boarded their modified transport ships. "We will hit hard and fast, making them realize they underestimated us." As the ships took off, Maya looked out at the sprawling landscape below, now marred by the scars of war. The sun was setting, casting an eerie orange glow over the horizon. It felt surreal, yet she was filled with determination. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for a future. Upon reaching their designated area, Unit Alpha descended near a Zargoth encampment nestled in a ravine. The team disembarked quietly, moving stealthily toward the alien positions. Maya felt her heart pounding as they neared the encampment, a mix of fear and excitement coursing through her veins. "Stay low and follow my lead," Ramirez whispered, his gaze scanning the area. The soldiers nodded, focusing on their mission. They moved as one, expertly avoiding the watchful eyes of the alien guards. Maya was hyper-aware of her surroundings. She spotted a group of Zargoth soldiers gathered near a weapons cache, their voices deep and unintelligible. As they crept closer, Maya signaled for the team to halt. This was the moment to strike. "On my mark," Ramirez breathed, gripping his weapon tightly. 3, 2, 1. Now. Gunfire erupted as Unit Alpha charged forward, catching the Zargoth by surprise. Maya joined the fray, adrenaline surging through her as she fired at the nearest alien. The Zargoth scrambled to respond, their confusion evident as they fought back. The clash of humanity against an alien foe was fierce, and Maya felt a surge of empowerment coursing through her. They fought valiantly, taking down Zargoth soldiers and securing the weapons cache. As the firefight intensified, Maya spotted an energy core, an alien technology that could potentially amplify their newly developed resonance weapon. "Over here," she shouted, running toward the core while dodging enemy fire. She quickly set up a makeshift harness to transport the core back to their base. "Cover her," Ramirez commanded, rallying the troops. The team formed a defensive perimeter around Maya as she worked, firing at the Zargoth who tried to breach their line. Maya's hand shook as she completed the setup, her heart pounding with urgency. "Got it. Let's go." With the core secured, the team regrouped and began to retreat under heavy fire. Maya felt the weight of their success as they fought their way back to the transport ships. Each step felt monumental. They had struck a significant blow against the Zargoth. As they boarded the ships and took off into the sky, cheers erupted from the team. They had not only survived but thrived in the face of adversity. They were now more than just a resistance. They were a force to be reckoned with. Back at the Nexus, the atmosphere was electric. The successful mission had invigorated the global resistance. Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were beginning to understand the Zargoth's weaknesses, and with every victory, they were drawing closer to reclaiming their world. But Maya also knew that this was only the beginning. The Zargoth would retaliate, and humanity needed to be prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. They had to remain vigilant and united, ready to face whatever came next in this epic battle for survival. The mood at the Nexus was electric following the success of Unit Alpha's mission. Dr. Maya Chen watched as reports from around the globe streamed in, detailing similar victories from other resistance units. The world was beginning to rally, fueled by the hope ignited in the wake of their counteroffensive. However, in the shadows of their triumph, the Zargoth were regrouping, and they would not take the recent defeat lightly. Days passed, filled with preparations for the next phase of their fight. Maya and Captain James Ramirez worked tirelessly, analyzing the energy core they had secured. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its pulsating glow suggested immense power. "We need to harness this," Maya said, her brow furrowed in concentration. "If we can reverse engineer its properties, we might be able to amplify our resonance weapon even further." As the team delved into their research, unsettling reports began trickling in. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," one of the technicians called, urgency lacing their voice. Maya rushed to the command center, where a holographic map displayed a chilling sight. "What's happening?" she asked, her heart racing. "The Zargoth are mobilizing," the technician explained. "They've concentrated their forces around major urban centers, and we suspect they're planning a counteroffensive of their own. They're not going to let us get away with this." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. Maya felt a sense of dread wash over her. The Zargoth were merciless, and they would retaliate in ways humanity couldn't begin to anticipate. "They're likely trying to reclaim their lost territories and resources," Commander Harris said, his face grim. "We need to prepare for their attack and ensure our defenses are strong." As the day progressed, alerts echoed through the Nexus. Zargoth ships had been spotted on the move, headed towards several key cities. The Resistance had to act quickly. "Let's mobilize our units," Ramirez said, his voice steady. "We can't let them catch us off guard." Within hours, Resistance forces were dispatched to several urban centers to assist with evacuation efforts and bolster defenses. Maya felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders as she coordinated their response, ensuring that civilians were moved to safety while the Resistance prepared for battle. The following day, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the air was thick with tension. Reports indicated that the Zargoth were advancing, and the first waves of their attack were imminent. Maya gathered her team for a final briefing. "We've faced many challenges, and we've triumphed against all odds," she began, her voice resolute. "But tonight, we stand on the brink of something monumental. The Zargoth will not take our victories lightly, and we must be ready to defend what we fought for." As darkness enveloped the city, the first explosions echoed in the distance. The ground shook as the Zargoth unleashed their aerial bombardment, raining destruction down upon the city. Maya's heart raced as she grabbed her weapon, leading her team to the front lines. "We need to establish a defensive perimeter," Ramirez shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We can't let them breach the city." As they moved to position themselves, Maya felt the adrenaline surge within her. She was acutely aware of the stakes. The lives of innocent civilians hung in the balance, and the time for preparation was over. The Zargoth ships descended like shadows, their weapons glowing ominously. The Resistance fighters stood ready, firing into the night sky as the alien crafts unleashed a barrage of energy blasts. The sky erupted in a cacophony of explosions and shattering glass, a violent reminder of the battle they faced. "Keep firing," Maya yelled, her voice rising above the chaos. "We need to hold the line." Unit Alpha pushed forward, working in tandem to repel the invading forces. Maya felt the heat of the blasts, the fear and determination mingling within her. They had faced impossible odds before, and now they were standing together against a common enemy. Suddenly, a surge of Zargoth soldiers descended from their ships, charging toward the Resistance lines. Maya gritted her teeth, her resolve hardening. They had to push back to show the Zargoth that humanity would not yield. "Flank them," Ramirez ordered. "We'll drive them back." As the Resistance fighters engaged the alien soldiers, the struggle intensified. The fate of their world hung in the balance, and with every shot fired, every Zargoth soldier felled, They fought not just for survival, but for the very essence of humanity itself. The night was far from over, and the battle for Earth had only just begun. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning debris as Dr. Maya Chen fought alongside her comrades against the relentless Zargoth onslaught. The chaos of battle surrounded her. Gunfire erupted, explosions rumbled, and the cries of the wounded pierced the night. But amidst the turmoil, Maya felt a fierce determination burning within her. "Push forward," Captain James Ramirez shouted, rallying the troops as they fought against the advancing alien soldiers. "We can't let them break our lines." Maya took a deep breath, her heart pounding as she reloaded her weapon. The Zargoth had come in waves, but they had held their ground, demonstrating resilience against their powerful foe. It was a brutal test of will, and she refused to let fear overtake her. The Zargoth had adapted quickly to their strategies, utilizing their advanced technology to counter the Resistance's every move. But humanity had something the aliens lacked: unity. Every Resistance fighter on the ground fought with passion, fueled by the knowledge that they were not just fighting for their lives, but for their families, their homes, and their future. "Over there," Ramirez yelled, pointing to a cluster of Zargoth forces attempting to flank them. "We can't let them encircle us." Maya nodded, adrenaline coursing through her veins as she joined the charge. "We'll take them from the side. Move." As they surged forward, Maya felt a sense of purpose guiding her every action. She spotted a Zargoth commander, towering and armored, barking orders to his troops. With a swift calculation, she aimed her weapon, squeezing the trigger just as a blast of energy narrowly missed her. The commander staggered back, and for a moment, the Zargoth forces hesitated. "Now," Ramirez shouted, seizing the opportunity. The Resistance fighters surged forward, unleashing a hail of gunfire upon the Zargoth troops, who were caught off guard. Maya fought with everything she had, pushing through the ranks of alien soldiers, her resolve hardening with every victory. But just as they began to gain ground, a chilling roar echoed through the battlefield. From the shadows, a massive Zargoth war machine lumbered into view, towering over the combatants. Its weaponry glowed ominously, and the ground shook beneath its weight. The sight sent a wave of dread through the ranks of the Resistance. "Maya, we need to take that thing down," Ramirez shouted, his eyes fixed on the machine. "I can target its energy core," she replied, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. "But I'll need cover. Everyone, listen up." Ramirez's voice boomed through the chaos. "We're going to give Dr. Chen the opening she needs. Focus fire on that war machine while she sets up." With a renewed sense of purpose, the Resistance fighters rallied, forming a line of defense against the oncoming waves of Zargoth soldiers. Maya sprinted toward the war machine, dodging blasts of energy as she reached a position that provided a clear shot. As she began working on her targeting system, she could feel the weight of the world on her shoulders. She had to make this count. With her heart racing, she locked onto the energy core of the machine, her fingers flying over the controls. "Now, Maya," Ramirez shouted as the Zargoth closed in on his position. "We don't have much time." "Firing," she yelled, steadying her breath. With a sharp click, the targeting system locked in, and she pulled the trigger. A powerful blast erupted from her weapon, striking the energy core dead center. The war machine let out a deafening roar as it staggered, and an explosion of light erupted, sending Zargoth soldiers flying. The ground shook violently, and for a moment, the battlefield fell silent as everyone processed what had just happened. "We did it," Maya exclaimed, a wave of relief washing over her. But the moment of victory was fleeting. The remaining Zargoth forces, driven into a frenzy, charged at the Resistance fighters with renewed vigor. Ramirez barked orders, and the team quickly regrouped, forming a defensive line against the onslaught. "We can't give up now," he shouted, determination etched on his face. "Fight for every inch." With the Zargoth war machine destroyed, hope surged through the Resistance. Maya felt a fire igniting in her heart. They could win this battle. They could reclaim their planet. As the sun began to rise on the horizon, casting a golden light over the battlefield, Maya led the charge alongside Ramirez, every shot fired echoing their commitment to humanity's survival. They fought through the tide of alien soldiers, refusing to back down. One by one, the Zargoth began to falter. The Resistance's resolve was unwavering, and their numbers grew as reinforcements arrived. With a final surge of determination, Maya and her comrades pushed the Zargoth back, reclaiming the ground they had fought so hard to defend. The air was filled with the sounds of triumph, the cries of victory resonating across the battlefield. As the last remnants of the Zargoth forces retreated into the sky, Maya felt tears of relief and joy fill her eyes. They had done it. They had stood united against an overwhelming force and emerged victorious. In that moment, she knew this was not just a battle won. It was a turning point in the war. Humanity had risen to the challenge, proving that they would fight for their freedom, for their world, and for each other. As they surveyed the aftermath of the battle, a sense of pride filled Maya. They were no longer just a resistance. They were a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would build a future, one forged in courage and hope.